So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're calling in from. I'm excited to be here today to discuss one of the most critical topics in cybersecurity, and that's data protection. Essentially, we want to understand how these strategies work, what is the expectation with them, and why they are so important. Let me just bring this up here. So I've spent over 2 decades in cybersecurity, leading incident response, governance, risk management, compliance programs for Fortune 50 through Fortune 500 companies. My experience spans industries in pharmaceuticals, insurance, consulting, where I've built and tested recovery strategies designed to withstand modern cyber threats. I hold a BS in Information Science and Systems from Morgan State University and a master's certificate in information assurance and cybersecurity from Villanova University, both which gave me a foundation to merge technology with organizational strategy. So now let's shift the gears and explore why data protection and recovery aren't just IT checkboxes, but the backbone of every modern business strategy. But before we do that, let's go through today's agenda so that we have a clear slate as to what will be discussed and kind of the expectations. First, we're going to get into the business imperative. Why data protection and resilience are strategic business priorities, not just IT concerns. We also want to talk about the threat landscape, how ransomware, human error, and disasters continue to test recovery readiness. We also want to look at the frameworks and backup strategies, aligning with NIST, ISO, and COVID, while designing hybrid on-prem and cloud backup solutions. We then want to talk about the automation and the monitoring aspect. How do we use orchestration and analytics to strengthen reliability and to reduce human error? We then want to talk about the recovery and the virtualization, exploring how the on-prem and cloud and bare metal recovery models work, and what is the plus rapid failover through virtualization. We then want to talk about the governance and the metrics. We want to measure how the RTO and RPO, and we'll get into the specifics of the RTO and RPO, but their readiness and the integration with data protection and the overall compliance controls. And then we'll wrap up with the roadmap and the culture. How do we define our 90-day resilience plan, right? How do we build a culture for continuous testing and accountability? So let's start framing the reality we're all living in, the data-driven era. Obviously, we talk about data-driven. We are really in a data explosion, right? Every organization is generating data at an unprecedented scale. And this is from IoT devices to analytic platforms and AI systems. Data has to become both the fuel and the liability of digital transformation. Data-centric operations. Businesses now depend on data for every decision, automating workflows, personalizing services, and predicting outcomes. That dependency makes data a strategic asset, but also a single point of failure. Data vulnerabilities are more what we create and what we depend on. The greater the exposure. Theft, corruption, and accidental loss can cripple operations and erode customer trust overnight. Frameworks like GDPR and HIPAA demand not only security, but we demonstrate accountability. A failure here isn't just technical, it's the legal, financial, and the reputational impacts. And so in this environment, protecting data isn't optional, this is a must. Organizations that thrive are the ones that treat data protection as an asset. So once we understand the data landscape, the next step is to designing a strategy that doesn't just protect, but keeps the business operating when disruption happens. Safeguarding is where it all starts, right? This is the basics. Protecting sensitive information from cyber threats, ransomware, and insider risks. Security isn't a single control, it's a layered defense built around people, processes, and technology. Data protection has no value if your business can't recover. The goal is maintaining uptime and adaptability, whether the disruption comes from a cyber attack, system outage, or a natural disaster. Beyond defense, resilience means visibility. Using analytics and telemetry to understand risk exposure helps organizations make proactive, data-driven recovery decisions. Mature programs weave these elements together. Governance defines accountability, automation, and ensures consistency, and recovery validates readiness. True resilience is a balance, right? Protect what matters, recover what breaks, and evolve faster than the next disruption. To build any recovery plan, we have to start with what we're defending against. The realities is that every organization faces some type of threat today. And so obviously ransomware is still a top threat. It doesn't just encrypt production data, it targets your backups too, right? Making recovery impossible without proper isolation and immutability. Servers, disks, and even cloud components fail. And when this happens without redundancy or tested backups, the downtime and data loss follow fast. Accidental deletions, misconfigurations, or untested changes remain one of the leading causes of outages, and often the most preventable. From power outages to hurricanes and regional data center disruptions, physical risks can ripple through hybrid environments, even if recovery isn't a geographically distributed. And so obviously here, the key landscape isn't hypothetical, it's a consistent human and evolving issue. True resilience means assuming what will happen next and how can we recover at a fast rate. So now that we understand those threats, let's look at how we build a structured, standards-based defense, one that's reliable, measurable, and repeatable. And so it all starts with how do we verify data backups, okay? So backups must be tested, versioned, and stored securely, not just to assume work, but without a verified integrity or recovery, it's just all theory-based, right? So we need to make sure that we have reliable backups. Second is how rapid is our recovery, okay? Speed matters. The ability to restore systems quickly and accurately defines your operational resilience. Every minute of downtime carries both financial and reputational impact. A strong DRBC plan, or disaster recovery business continuity plan framework, minimizes downtime through redundancy, network segmentation, and a tiered recovery path across on-prem and cloud environments. And standards like NIST 834, HIPAA 164.308, and ISO 27031 all provide a blueprint for aligning security, documentation, and recovery readiness. Frameworks aren't bureaucracy, they are a discipline. They make resilience measurable and ensure that you can provide your readiness before a real-time failure happens. Once the framework is in place, it's all about the execution, okay? It comes down to how and where we back up our data. Each strategy serves a specific purpose, and together they build true resilience. On-premise backups are ideal for organizations that need complete control. On-prem backups provide speed and immediate access, but require proper maintenance, power redundancy, and physical security. Cloud-based backups deliver flexibility, scalability, and a geographic separation. They are vital for disaster recovery, but the bandwidth and data sovereignty must be managed carefully. The most resilient approach combines both worlds, right? And so this would typically be a fast on-prem, which restores with secure, and then there's an offsite replication to the cloud. This is a layered model that supports the 3-2-1 rule. And the 3-2-1 rule means that there's 3 copies, 2 media types, and 1 that's offsite. Okay, so backups aren't just your safety net, but they only are a safety net if they're designed for recovery, not just storage. The smartest teams blend a on-prem performance with the cloud resilience for a full spectrum of protection. Now that we've discussed where backups live, let's talk about how they're performed, right? Because methodology determines both recovery time and data integrity. The most comprehensive method, right, and this is what most people will typically understand and talk about, is the full backup, right? This is the most comprehensive method. Every cycle captures a complete data copy, providing high reliability, but requiring more time and more storage. Next is what we call the incremental backup, okay? So this captures the data change since the last backup. It's fast and storage efficient, but creates a longer recovery chain that must be carefully managed. We then have what we call a differential backup, and this stores all changes since the last full backup. It's a middle ground, faster recovery than incremental, but with greater storage demand. Next, we have what we call our immutable backup, and this is a newer safeguard, and this is where data is written once and cannot be modified. It's a critical layer of defense against ransomware and insider threats. And then last, we have what we call a 3-2-1 rule, and this is the golden standard, right? We have 3 copies of data on 2 different media, 1 offsite or cloud copy. This ensures redundancy, diversity, and protection from localized copies that we have within our environment. The right mix of backup methods isn't about convenience, it's about business survival. It's about resilience, right? And how that actually works in real time. Backups aren't just about storage, they're about trust. Strategic design ensures every backup is reliable, secure, and verifiable. So let's talk about the automation, scheduling, and verification process, right? And so this is where backups should run on autopilot with validation checks that are built in. Automation reduces human error and ensures that every job completes successfully, protecting against missed or corrupted backups. We also have the encrypted in transit or in at rest. Data must be encrypted during transmission and while stored. This ensures that even the backup, if it is intercepted or stolen, it's useless without its encryption keys. And so we use checksum or hash verification to confirm that the backup hasn't been altered. This detects corruption, tampering, or ransomware encrypted files before restoration. And so the key here is that strategic design turns backups from a passive safeguard into an active layer of defense. Automation, encryption, and integrity checks together define modern resilience. Let's connect the dots. A strong data protection strategy must be built on a solid framework that blends standards, protection, and continuity. Frameworks like NIST 834, ISO 27031, and COVID 2019 define the backbone for resilience and recovery. They ensure that your program isn't just reactive, but governed and auditable and repeatable. We also have comprehensive and data protections, and this is where privacy and security framework safeguards sensitive information from cyber threats. It reduces risk, exposure, and embeds protection into every layer, from endpoint to cloud. We also want to ensure business continuity, right? Standards such as ISO 22301 guide organizations as to how they sustain operations through disruption. The focus is adaptability, protecting both data and mission critical processes. And so data protection isn't one control, it's a living framework that aligns compliance, technology, and business resilience. As data environments grow more complex, manual backup and recovery simply can't keep up. Automation and monitoring bridge that gap, the transforming resilience from reactive to proactive. And so when we talk about automation, we have to talk about how we're automating the workflows that eliminate human error and ensures consistency across environments. Orchestration ties systems together, from backup scheduling to failover activation, improving efficiency and reducing downtime. When it comes to monitoring analytics, what we're really saying is real-time visibility, which enables teams to spot issues before they become outages. Metrics like backup success rates, response time, and recovery validation feed directly into smarter risk decisions. True continuity means that your systems respond automatically, rerouting, recovering, or scaling as conditions change, and this is where automation meets intelligence. Automation and analytics aren't about replacing people, they're about empowering teams to act faster, smarter, with more confidence. When disaster strikes, recovery speed and precision define your organization's resilience. These models outline how to bring systems back online, each serving a unique purpose. Traditional but critical local backups restore systems directly from an on-site infrastructure, ideal for environments with strict data residency or latency needs. The cloud accelerates recovery by offering scalable on-demand infrastructure. It supports faster spin-ups and greater geographic redundancy. The best of both worlds would be a hybrid restoration approach. And this is where we will be combining on-prem control with cloud agility, ensures recovery, even when one environment is compromised. The most intensive model is rebuilding from scratch, right? And this is what we call a bare metal restoration model. This is used when hardware is lost or systems are fully compromised. It's the ultimate test preparedness. Choosing the right recovery model isn't about preference. It's about aligning restoration speed and risk tolerance. We also want to understand and ensure that we're aligning with the appropriate business continuity goals. So once your backup architecture is in place, automation and monitoring ensures it performs consistently, accurately, without surprises. 90% of automation reduces RTO and RPO by 40%. Automation eliminates manual intervention and human error, directly improving recovery speed and consistency. It also derives accountability through KPIs tied to leadership and with numerous dashboards. Continuous health monitoring always ensures visibility and ensures that your backup systems are not just running, that they're actually performing. Continuous telemetry detects early warning signs before a failure disrupts recovery. And alerts on under 5% typically leads to proactive alerting, which keeps teams focused on what matters the most. When failure thresholds are crossed, automated workflows trigger investigation and remediation steps. Monthly integrity and compliance reports are routine validations that confirms data is recoverable and it is in alignment with compliance standards like HIPAA, SOX, and ISO 27001. These reports transform technical operations into measurable business assurance. Automation doesn't just make backups faster, it makes it resilient, measurable, auditable, and trusted. To build a meaningful recovery plan, you must understand the two core metrics that define resilience, and that is the RTO and the RPO. Now, the RTO stands for Recovery Time Objective. This is your time budget. This defines how long your organization can tolerate downtime before business operations are critically impacted. For example, can payroll, customer service, or e-commerce systems be offline for an hour or a day? RPO is a recovery point objective. This would be your data budget. This metric ensures how much data you can afford to lose between your last backup and a disruption. The lower the RPO, the more frequent your backups need to be. And so when we tie the RTO and RPO to business impact, these aren't just two technical metrics, they represent real world consequences, right? If HR payroll is down for 6 hours, employees don't get paid. If customer data is lost, trust erodes, right? And so your RTO and your RPO define your organization's pain thresholds. It sets them with the business, not just in isolation by the IT. Virtualization has completely changed how we think about resilience, turning disaster recovery from a manual process into a dynamic automated capability. And so one of the things virtualization does do is seamless failover. Okay, and this is what allows instant switchover to standby systems when production fails. Downtime may drop from hours to minutes because workloads are extracted from physical hardware. Snapshots capture entire systems at a specific point in time, making it easy to roll back from failures or ransomware attacks within seconds. We also have virtual machines that can be cloned and tested in isolation. Now, this allows disaster recovery testing to occur without touching live systems. And now, this is a huge step for compliance and audit readiness. As workloads spike or shrink, virtualization automatically adjusts capacity to match business demands and ensuring performance and cost efficiency. So the key takeaway here is that virtualization gives disaster recovery agility, where recovery isn't reactive, it's orchestrated. When it comes to recovery design, organizations often face key decisions, right? Centralized control or distributed. Each approach has trade-offs in speed, consistency, and risk. And so obviously when it comes to a centralized recovery model, this is going to offer uniform policies and easy management across multiple environments. This would be ideal for compliance-heavy sectors, but may introduce delays or bottlenecks if all recovery actions route through a single control point. These centralized recovery models empowers local or business unit control for faster, context-aware recovery. However, it can create fragmented enforcement and visibility gaps if not governed properly. Single point of failures are centralization that brings operational efficiency, but it also concentrates on risk. One compromised controller or network hub could impact multiple systems. So inconsistent enforcement on the flip side is where we have decentralization without governance, which can lead to policy drift, where teams follow different standards or retention rules. So balance isn't everything. It combines centralized governance with decentralized execution. That's how you achieve both speed and consistency in recovery. Resilience isn't just about recovery speed, it's about connecting defense and response into one seamless loop. Incident response and backup systems must work together, not in a silo. And so when we think about incident response, what we're really saying is, how do we connect our playbooks to our backup DR systems, right? This would be linking incident response tips directly to your disaster recovery workflows, right? A ransomware response isn't finished until data integrity is verified through restoration. Defense and recovery should be two halves of the same plan. Modern SOC tools trigger automated rollback or isolation when a malicious activity is detected. For example, your SOAR platform can quarantine systems and initiate backup restoration simultaneously. Your people remain the first line of defense. Continuous awareness, training on phishing, credential misuse, and data handling policies ensures that tactical controls have human reinforcement. And so the true incident response doesn't end when the threat is contained. It ends when the recovery is verified, right? That's a key point. And so every strong data protection program is built on governance, not just technology. Standards bring structure, accountability, and measurable resilience. And so obviously we had previously talked about some of these standards, but this is also good just to revisit these standards again. So this Entry 34 focuses on maintaining critical services during a disruption. It is the backbone of federal and enterprise level continuity planning. Next is the ISO 27031. This is the standard for readiness for resilience. Now, this standard bridges cybersecurity and IT continuity together. It ensures your technical systems are ready to withstand, respond to, and recover from incidents, not just securing them. ISO 22301 provides a systematic way to establish, implement, and maintain continuity programs, ensuring recovery processes are tested, documented, and auditable. And then we have COVID 2019, which is a governance and control alignment. And this is going to help align IT, right, risk, and business objectives under one governance model, making sure resilience isn't just an IT function, but an enterprise responsibility. Compliance frameworks aren't just a checklist, they are the blueprints for operational resilience. The stronger your governance, the faster your recovery. Let's look at how organizations evolve in their data protection journey from a reactive firefighting to a more proactive resilience model. And so the first would be a manual ad hoc backups that are rarely tested. And we call this typically a survival mode. When something breaks, recovery depends on luck more than planning. Next is what we call a proactive approach. Okay, and this is where automation enters the picture. We have backups are scheduled, they're monitored and verified. You're no longer guessing if data exists, you know it is protected. Next level is what we call a integrated approach. And this is where disaster recovery is part of your hybrid infrastructure strategy. Recovery objectives like the RTO and RPO are clearly defined, they're clearly measured, and aligned with business priorities. And next is the optimized approach, okay? And this is the most mature stage. And this is where orchestration, analytics, and continuous testing drive real-time resilience. There's AI-assisted monitoring, which predicts failures before they happen in real time. And so one key takeaway here is that maturity isn't about the tools, it's about the integration and the discipline. The goal is to move from a very reactive recovery approach to a more predictive resilience approach. Resilience isn't built from a single project. It's maintained through repetition, validation, and learning. What does this all mean? Don't wait for a real incident to find weaknesses. We need to run quarterly disaster recovery drills to validate whether your backups, your systems, and people are truly ready for that particular type of attack. Next, we want to track recovery time, data loss, and test the overall outcomes. And again, this is going to be with our RTO and our RPO. And we want to make sure that we're able to test those outcomes. We also want to analyze what worked. Where did the failure actually occur? This transforms drills into a measurable improvement process. We want to update our playbooks and our policies. We want to use what we learned to refine our response playbooks, procedures, and our policies. Every test should be evolving and really maturing our readiness process, not just check a compliance box. The recovery testing isn't just about validation, it's about evolution. Each cycle builds confidence, it closes gaps, and it turns resilience into muscle memory. To wrap up this section, let's clarify a few terms that often come up in business continuity and disaster recovery discussions, because language consistency drives better coordination. And so let's just talk about just a few of these terms here that I think may be kind of interesting, just so that we're on the same page. And the first is what we call business continuity planning, right? And this is the overarching framework for keeping business operations running during and after disruption. This is your organizational safety net. Next is, you probably heard me say in the presentation up to this point, a DRP, and that stands for Disaster Recovery Plan. Now, this is a more technical IT-focused plan. The details that come out of it are how the systems, data, and infrastructure are restored following any outage. Okay. The next is what we call a maximum tolerable downtime, or MTD. Now, this metric defines the longest period a system or process can be unavailable before significant business damage occurs. The next is what we call a maximum acceptable outage. Okay. And this is used interchangeably with the MTD, but this actually sets your upper threshold for downtime tolerance. And then we have what we call a WRT, or work recoverable time. And this is the time it takes to fully restore operations after systems are recovered. getting teams back to their normal workflows. And then we have the hot, warm, and cold sites. And these are all levels of alternative recovery readiness. Hot sites are the fully operational replicas. Warm sites are partially ready. And the cold sites, they actually are the worst. They actually require complete setups from scratch. And so here, one of the things that we need to understand is that all of these terms are extremely important, right? From IT to leadership, they speak the language from what resilience should be and what it should look like. When it comes to resilience, what gets measured gets improved. These are the metrics that truly tell you how protected and prepared the organization typically is. And so one of the key metrics to track is the backup success rate. This is a very simple metric. It's something that I've seen over my many years of doing several assessments. This is the simplest and most telling indicator. This is the percentage of where the backups actually are and how successful are they. Anything below 95% demands attention. Case in point. The next is the RTL and RPO metrics. Track your recovery time objective, how fast you can restore, and recovery point objective, how much data you can afford to lose. Together, they define your operational tolerance. Okay. The next metric would be your test success rate. And this is where we would measure how many disaster recovery tests are executed without errors or data loss. If testing reveals gaps, that's progress, because every failed test is a fixable insight. The next metric would be our audit readiness score, and this would be reflecting your compliance maturity, how well your documentation, your recovery evidence, and testing results align with frameworks like NIST, HIPAA, or ISO. And we have to keep in mind that resilience isn't about perfection, it's about proof, right? Metrics turn good intentions into measurable assurance. Technology builds recovery, but culture sustains it. A true culture of resilience makes continuity everyone's responsibility, not just IT's. And so when we think about culture, right, and obviously we need to loop it with resilience, what we're really saying is that we're embedding awareness and accountability across teams, which ensures every employee knows how their role supports uptime, recovery, and protection of critical data. We also want to understand the roadmaps, right? Roadmaps keep organizations aligned, right? Turning our strategy into execution. They clarify priorities, assign ownership, and sustain focus on resilience milestones. And then last, we have our resilience dashboards. Dashboards transform resilience into measurable outcomes, tracking our uptime, tracking our backup performance, and testing our success so leaders can see progress and respond fast to emerging risks. One key takeaway is that culture makes resilience permanent. When accountability is shared and progress is visible, business continuity becomes part of our daily operations, not just a response plan. So thank you all for joining me today to kind of talk about our resilience within our data sectors. And we've seen how resilience, governance, and cybersecurity leadership all connect, not just to protect systems, but to safeguard trust and enable sustainable growth. The role of today's exercise is to really loop these all together. So before we move to our Q&A, I just want to take a moment to thank Shilpa and the entire EC Council team for their incredible work organizing today's session and ensuring that everything has ran smoothly. So now we'll pass over back to the EC Council team and Shilpa. Thank you, guys. Excellent question. So one of the things over my career that I've seen has been a major issue is there is no data custodian, meaning that there's nobody really responsible for the backups, right? So in regards to any mature organization, they typically will have a data custodian to monitor the backups. So that seems to be the biggest issue. Before we can even talk about or address the maturity of the backup, it's all about getting the right personnel. So I think that's probably the biggest issue that I've seen, is not having the right personnel to monitor the backups. There's not like a one size fits all, right? So, obviously we're really essentially talking about multiple backups that are all immutable, essentially. So what I would say, like, let's just say you're in the cloud, you're backing up in the cloud, you have an on-prem. I would just ensure, and this is going back to the original question, is making sure we have the right personnel, ensuring that we don't have corruption. I think that's one of the bigger issues. Is I have seen various environments, very sophisticated environments, where everything is cloud-based, right? Well, what happens when the cloud fails, or we have issues with that provider, or their negligence, or there's a gap in the SLA procedure, right? So again, having the right personnel to constantly monitor these backups will probably be the best approach. In a perfect world, and the reason why I said it is because sometimes we can't get everybody in the same room to do a tabletop or a DR drill. I would say every quarter at a bare minimum. We should be doing these 4 times a year at a bare minimum. Now, as far as encryption is concerned, that's pretty standard. That is kind of like the de facto standard, right? We should have most of the files, most of the servers, or whatever's being stored, on some type of encryption schedule. Now, there could be issues with the type of data that we're encrypting, with this availability. We need this available, right? I've seen some organizations where they're so encrypted, it takes too long to try to recover, right? Or let's just say, they're on a need to know type of policy, and only 2 people have the encryption key, right? That's going to delay the overall outcome, right? So it just really depends on the culture of that environment. If we have separation of duties, we have a right DR call tree, right, where we have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people who can kind of provide those keys or get those keys in a timely manner, then that may work. But we have to be careful. And again, there's really no size fits all. It just really comes down to the organization and how mature you really are. The board, their overall or steering committee, their responsibility is to certainly kind of support that CISO or that DR person or leader in understanding the capabilities and undergirding them with the right tools that they may have. So this is where it's kind of gray because usually, and I've seen this happen at a lot of large organizations, they may not have the right personnel at the board level. So they're not really able to articulate what they really need or understand the capabilities of their internal teams. This is typically where the CISO should sit, or obviously the DR lead should be reporting into the CISO, and then the CISO should be articulating what type of funding that they need to be successful, right? We have issues with our DLP program. We have issues with restoring, or should we get ransomware, everything is encrypted. That CISO should be able to articulate what they actually need to be successful. Yes. So again, and this is kind of pitching on the first question, I think most organizations, they're not reviewing the data on a more consistent basis. They're not going through at a granular level. In other words, when we say backups, right, it's a very ambiguous type of statement, right? What are we backing up? Are we backing up at the file level, at the at the server level, at the cloud level? What exactly are we backing up? And then from that point, we can understand where the gap truly is. Now, from my own experience, I don't typically see a lot of organizations backing up at the file level, and that will be at the employee level. So everything on your endpoint, are they backing that up? They may only back up, various network drives, right? But for typical investigations where we need to see the endpoint, right, or we need to see more files for that investigation, if we're not backing it up, that's a gap, right? And that's typically where the forensics may come in to kind of support us. But even at that, if they're not backing up the data, there's nothing to analyze. But that would probably be the biggest gap that I've seen, and it's been going on for quite some time. Excellent question. Well, certainly the EDRP through EC Council will probably be the flagship for everything that was discussed today. And that stands for the EC Council Disaster Recovery Professional Excellent Certification. You'll learn really the technical aspects of business continuity, and also from a business perspective, right? So they kind of work hand in hand. You get a lot of the business continuity and you get the technical, like what is the 3-2-1 rule? What is NTD? Like, how do you actually restore from a ransomware attack? What are some key indicators that you need to look at? So it takes incident response and it takes disaster recovery, business continuity as well, and it kind of merges them together. So if you're coming from a security analyst, or you're a compliance leader, privacy leader, technical leader, the EDRP will probably be the number one cert that kind of encapsulates everything together. Absolutely. So think about this, and obviously this is a hot topic. AI. Think about AI equals automation. Okay, so it's a tool that we will be using to automate our processes, right? And so think about how a IDS works, right? An intrusion detection system, right? So this is an active appliance, network appliance that sits on our network and basically detects when it picks up some anomalous behavior. So AI would do the same thing, but it actually has a broader lens, right? So it's going to see things 2-3 weeks in advance, right? It can already see things coming that we couldn't see before, right? Same thing for IPS, right? Where it actually prevents that attack, same thing, right? So we can actually improve our posture. We can improve the narrative a whole lot faster with AI. And in fact, I think there's a lot of leaders and a lot of vendors either using a third party to do a lot of the heavy lifting today. What I always typically tell clients or other advisors is we should have a staging environment, okay? And what a staging environment is, anything that's not production, right? So we should be testing, whatever we're trying to roll out in a secondary environment, so that we can understand what that variant may be, or there's a specific tool that doesn't work well in our environment, right? So the easiest way is to have a secondary environment and think about it like this. Think about when we talked about earlier in the presentation, the 3 types of sites, right? Hot site, warm site, and cold site. Or either like a RAID 10 environment, which nobody typically uses anymore because we're all in the cloud, or basically a mirrored environment, right? Where we have complete infrastructure over here, right? In a whole different city, whole different country. And we're able to run that in a secondary environment, right? And so should something happen, we're able to fail over. We're able to answer all of the board's questions, and we're able to have more confidence that should we have a major disaster, we're able to fail over very efficiently and fast. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Anything where the integrity is maintained is a good thing, right? Anything that's immutable is really the focus for all backups, right? And so I think it's a great strategy, not for blockchain, for all methodologies that are out there. I certainly think that would create better confidence, especially when we have to explain to the board, and perhaps we recently had a data loss campaign, or we were ransomware, that would kind of answer that call. So that's certainly a great approach. It's something that I would certainly endorse. Absolutely. That is a amazing question. Whoever asked that is definitely on the right path. If we don't have documentation, nothing matters, right? Nothing exists. We do see a lot of organizations, very smart, very highly technical individuals, but there's nothing documented, right? I always tell people that, or clients, vendors, et cetera, if we don't have documentation, or if it's not admissible to go to court, we're in trouble, okay? Keep in mind, documentation keeps us honest, especially if we align to standards and frameworks, right? So if you had to tell your data custodian to recover from an endpoint or retrieve various sectors within an endpoint, and there's no playbook, there's no plan, that's going to delay the overall process, right? Which could lead to reputational impact, other business impacts, technical impacts, and obviously we lose a lot of confidence. So excellent question. Certainly documentation is the key. Everything should be documented. Every single control that's seeing internet should be understood and in some type of disaster recovery methodology. So excellent question. Absolutely. Thank you all for joining again. Great group, great questions. I look forward to seeing you during the next session. I believe it's on December 8th. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your evening, afternoon, or morning until we meet again. Thank you.